Alright, what is up everybody? Bub back with something new on the channel. Today we're interviewing the creators of Showdex. If you guys want to say hi and introduce yourselves.
All right, I'll go first. Hey, my name's Cam. I'm Cam Boy on Showdown. But yeah, so I'm one of the creators of Showdex. I did like the design and I like to basically figure out like the features, the UI UX of Showdown and stuff like that. Cause I played a lot of Showdown for a long time. So yeah, so that's what I do.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Bot Keith, also known as Some Fuck. I just basically took all of Cam's ideas and then plopped them into Showdex. I did the programming and all that shit.
Hell yeah. Okay, so you guys have a really cool extension. It looks great. It works great. So actually before we get into talking about that, we have some more like personal questions about you guys that some people wanted to know. So one of my viewers, Novus, wants to know, what is your guys' favorite Pokemon?
It's a good question. I would say for me, it's probably Dragapult. I just like love the design. I love how it's so fast. It hits super hard. I love like the choice spec set. I've been using a lot of the Will-O-Wisp Hex set recently. Yeah, I just love Dragapult. I actually have like a Dragapult like thing on my keychain. So I'd say before Dragapult, I mean, obviously this newest generation, I'd say it was probably Tyranitar, just because he's huge. I just love like the heavy hitters. Like my favorites are always like based on like who did the most damage and who was like OP. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Shit, I didn't study for this one, fuck. Honestly, I don't have a favorite Pokemon, but definitely come to really learn to love Ditto, especially just because it really like gave me a really fun time working with Showdex. Like, holy crap, like it would always constantly be breaking the calc. Like the sync would just go haywire. Like literally you would have like 10 Pokemon or some crazy shit like that. So it's like a, love-hate relationship, because I love to see it working, obviously, but then, like, and also Choice Scarf Ditto, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, with Ditto you get a little bit of everything, right? Like you could have any of them.
Yeah, no, it's so difficult to, because you have to like detect their set, and then like once they switch out you have to like revert it back, and then also the level of the Ditto matters. Like there's so many like little nuances. It's so great. That and Zoroark was also so problematic.
Yeah, that's a second.
It sounds super intricate, and how you have to get everything down perfectly.
Yeah, they're so like, the Game Freak hates developers. Like, oh my god, like the way they've input, like the way they set things up is so like, there's so many like edge cases you have to worry about, and like so many things. I mean, Keith like deals with a lot of that stuff, so
They might even hate themselves, so it's like
they're masochistic for sure.
For sure. What is your guys' favorite generational mechanic?
Ooh, that's a good one. You want to go first?
Ooh, yeah, I'll go first. Honestly, that's easy for me. It's Mega for sure. I loved Megas. I thought it was really cool how I just made like Pokemon that aren't traditionally very good, really good. Like I loved Mega Lopunny. I used to run that like all the time. So yeah, and I thought it was pretty balanced too, just because you have to give up an item for it. So you give up at least the power of the item. Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I loved also Z moves as well. I would always use what was it, Thunder Asterion with Titanium Z, and I loved when they switched in their Tyranitar and just got dropped, or Heatran. It was so nice.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Probably no. I'm in agreement with Cam on this one, but most recently definitely Terra. Like, wow, just added the breath of fresh air that Pokemon needed. Like it just like introduced. It brought all these old Pokemon that weren't very competitively viable to the forefront now, and it's like, wow. It was also like tough to implement too, just because it was like very there was like a lot of nuance to it in terms of like oh, this Terra stab and like all this like things and whatnot.
Like the 60 base power mechanic, where like boost moves that are below 60 base power, but then if you have an ability like Sheer Force, then that has to be like, that's not factored. It's like, yeah, if it's Sheer Force, then it applies to Sheer Force first, and then it doesn't boost it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
complicated.
there's like so many little nuances like that. It's kind of like crazy. No, but it's actually like honestly like it's one of my favorite mechanics. I think Game Freak really did a good job with that one.
That's
Can I ask you actually? What do you think of Terra?
of me. What I think of Terra.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really cool idea implemented really, really terribly. I think that it's like being able to change your type or boost like a stab. I think it's great. I think it's great for VGC. I do think it's a little bit ridiculous in singles just because of the amount of guessing. Like it doesn't feel competitive. It's like a lot of guessing. It's like in a sense it's like you have all okay, even if you're just looking at OU as a whole, right? You have like what 15 Pokemon in the tier. I don't know the exact number. It's just like a rough estimate. And each of those have like 3 to 5 Terra types that they can go to.
Yeah.
So now you need to account for like all of that in the builder. And then you also need to account for, oh, this guy's running like a crackhead set with this random Terra type that's never used. It just feels really frustrating to build around sometimes. It feels really restricting in the builder. It seems like you have to use standard a lot more. It's harder to be as creative as you'd like. But on the other hand, it also enables creativity in the sense of like a lot of different things you can do with Terra. So I have mixed feelings. I liked it a lot during the start of the generation, but I'm kind of getting a little bit sick of it a little bit. So
I feel like in VGC, I feel like it makes sense to maybe have like Terra preview like they have in VGC, so it's a little bit of a guessing game. I think especially King Gambit is like the worst offender because it's like you have to play Sucker Punch mind games on top of Terra mind games. It's just like that's just crazy to me. Like he's Terra Flying, Terra Fire, Terra Dark, and it's like you have to predict that. You also have to predict the Sucker Punch. It's like
No, but that's the fun part, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
dude, when you play them, it's so nice.
Two completely different types of players, and you know what? I don't think there really is a right answer, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's pretty balanced for the most part. I think like a lot of mons they like have an ideal Terra type, so you can kind of guess. Like they're not gonna run like Terra Bug usually, so.
Oh, but Cerule Edge, Taunt, Bulk Up, Terra Bug.
Really? Oh, I have not seen that before.
Yeah, it's a very like counter team kind of thing, but it's like that's what they can do. It's just like there's just like random stuff like that they just like catch you off guard with. But yeah, so I did want to circle back real quick. I love your reasoning for liking megas. That's the same reason I love megas. Just taking really like Pokemon that were super underwhelming and just making them like massive metagame threats. Like you look at like Metacham, like you said, Lopunny, Pidgeot. Like I love that so much. I hope they bring back more of those with Legends ZA.
Yeah, I hope they like buff. I hope they focus on buffing like not good Pokemon instead of like
Yeah, we don't need a
yeah.
Mega Dragonite. Like we could live without that. Let's be honest.
Right. Like it's like let's boost the mons that suck.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. But at the same time, they do need to sell merchandise. So I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay as long as they buff some bad Pokemon. If they want to buff some strong ones, just like spread the love. It's like this is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What inspired you to make Showdex?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I think back in, I can't remember now when it was, maybe like 2017, 2018. We actually made I was playing Showdown and like I know the type chart pretty well, but like sometimes I don't know like the interactions between like the different types. I can't like think of it on the fly. So Keith actually made an extension where if I hovered over a Pokemon, it would show like the type weaknesses, like type strengths and like weaknesses, as like a little like overlay at the bottom, and also like the ability what it did. So that was actually like our first foray into doing it. So so that was really helpful. And then we would watch, so we used that for a while, and then we would watch like Pokegame videos, funny enough. And when he would damage calc, because like of his dimensions, he would have to like highlight sideways to like scroll in the damage calculator. We always thought that was so like funny, and we were like, dude, we could make like we could make a damage calc that's like way easier to like navigate and everything. So let's be honest, like the damage calc looks a little dated. It works really well though, but it's kind of like not the sleekest UI. So we had like plans to like make a damage calc like that, and we thought maybe we'd even do like a honkulate. Like they have like a one versus all calc too. We're gonna do that as well, which we decided actually not to do. But yeah, but then it was Keith's idea actually that he realized that he could like plug into the battle, like into Showdown, and detect the battle state and automatically set that for. I would not have thought that was possible. So
Bro, me neither too. It was just like literally like I was just like kind of poking and prodding around like Showdown. Actually, like it's pretty open, like if you know like what you're looking at, and there's a lot of things you can do, and like I was just able to like piece things together and be like, oh wow, I could create a tab, I could put this in there, now I can do this. It's like one thing led to another. Eventually we got syncing, which was it's like a never-ending job with the syncing part too. It's like there's always bugs, something wrong with it, but like yeah, like started with that, and then like we put the UI in there, and then like realized we could just, I was like, oh wow, they already had the damage calculator as a library, so we just put that in there too. And then one thing like yeah, it was just like a really interesting programming challenge too from my perspective. That's what really like hooked me in when Cam told me about this.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I think the other part was like, you know, we're working, so we don't have like time. I don't play like Showdown all day, like constantly, so I like memorize the calcs. And so this just made it a lot easier, honestly, just to be able to see the calcs, have like it set a lot of stuff for you, so you don't have to like waste time and like run out of timer. And I just thought like also too, it would make the game way more accessible to people who, you know, aren't as experienced, because it's definitely a hard game to just pick up. Like Keith was pretty inexperienced, and I would just like destroy him. Like it was not even close, because it'd be like, oh, you didn't know I had water absorber. Like, oh, you didn't know like this interaction with this. So it's like, but once we actually made Showdex, and like he was actually able to beat me and everything. So it's like kind of leveled the playing field, and focused on the part I like the most about Showdown, which is like the strategy, not like memorizing damage calcs and stuff.
Right, absolutely. I will say I have used Showdex as a tool on many occasions to teach new players, like my friends who are interested in getting into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was the dream for sure. Is like just to make it more accessible, because there's so much you have to learn, and like you have to learn about like what certain Pokemon do and like all this stuff. Yeah.
All right. Aaron wants to know how often do you use Showdex?
Oh, I use it all the time. Keith, funny enough, actually, I mean, we tested. He like does test games and stuff, but he spends so much time into like working on it and not even like playing.
Bro, there's just like weird stigma around like if you create something, sometimes you just don't want to like ever look at it or like, do it. Like once you release that into the wild, you know, it's just like, because you're always gonna notice these little things like, oh, like this doesn't work. It's like, oh, if I could just like, oh, dude, it just starts eating at you, and then like, so I get that when I'm playing just like casually, so I'm like, don't really have the appetite to play as much.
I 100% get where you're coming from, man. I'll be like, if I have like a big video project that I work on, and I'll put it out, and I can't rewatch it. It's like I will find so many things wrong with it.
I know, right? Like hearing your own voice, it's always like so cringe. But yeah, no. But to answer, like I play a lot. I play a lot of random battles. Yeah, I actually play on the Showdex tester account mostly. So someone's played me on the ladder. But yeah, I think I got up to like 2,000 elo in randoms.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, I used to play OU a lot, but I haven't played as much this generation, just because like, yeah, I kind of like team building is kind of hard in this generation. There's like so many threats. It's like you make a team and then it's like, oh my god, just Zamazenta just destroys it, or like King Gambit at the end just comes in, just sweeps you. But yeah, I've been playing a little more OU recently. I made a team, so but yeah, but mostly random battles. I play like probably like maybe like every other day. So yeah, and I test it, and then I tell Keith, oh, this is a bug, and then add it to the list.
I'm always on the edge of my seat when I'm like watching him like play. I'm like, oh my god, is it gonna work? It's like, oh shit, there's a Ditto, no.
That's awesome. All right, what was the most challenging part of the process creating Showdex, if any? I know we've probably already brushed up on some things that you've had trouble with, but
oh yeah, definitely. It was actually like not so much like the initial release, because from my perspective, it was around like what 2000. Wait, when did we release this? 2019. 2022. 2022. Holy shit. my calendar's way off. 2022. So that was around like Gen 8, right? So we released that. It worked pretty well. But then once we had to start supporting other gens, like people were like, "Oh, can this work for Gen 1? Like, can this Gen 2, 3, 4?" It's like, "Oh wow!" And then the mega mechanic, there were a lot of different like items and interactions, and like, oh man, like once you started piling all that, and then it's like whatever you built before, just could completely break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say in terms of difficulty, it's probably like honestly Ditto and Zoroark we've like had like I think 6 patches for just fixing them over and over again, just because like they would cause like like it would add like an extra Pokemon to the team or stop syncing. I'd say the Gen 9 update was kind of tough. Just implementing all the different mechanics like Rage Fist, Supreme Overlord, keeping track of that. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff, and then you have to worry about like if they refresh the page, then some stuff might not be there. So yeah, probably that stuff, and then maybe the team builder update as well.
Yeah, that one definitely was up there too. The team builder update was like because it's like try to undo all like taking out all the syncing aspects, because I just kind of like hacked it together for the initial version. And then once I had to like separate just the calculation part and the UI, that was a little bit more involved. I took a lot of work, and then reading from your team builder was like Showdown has your own little format, and then we had to parse into our format, and then like get you to like change all that. It was like a lot of like there's like a little nuanced situations too, where if you didn't have a name set in your team builder team, it would crash Showdown, or like it wouldn't even load sometimes. And like so we had to like release patches for that. It was like, oh, it was a roller coaster for sure. Like, but it was just like these little things I kind of like tack on. But when you initially think about it, it's like, oh, it's not so bad. Come on, it's just Pokemon, dude. You just hit the guy, you know?
Yeah, it's just Pokemon. That's so cool. I'm kind of like amazed because like it looks like so like it looks nice, and it just works so well. I don't think I've ever had any like major issues with Showdex at all. Sometimes it'll just freeze up, but like that's like not the biggest deal. I could just like if I refresh, it fixes it. Or I could just like update it manually.
Yeah.
But I've always been like super impressed with like how well it's made.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. That's definitely like, I think it's good that like I play Showdown a lot. I was like really experienced with Showdown and everything, because I was able to like think about like, okay, what do you actually need? What's like really essential here? Like what could we like automate for you? So that's what we try to do, is make it that you didn't have to do like it just does stuff for you that you need. You have everything there. So I mean, if it's working well, then you shouldn't even notice it, kind of thing. So yeah, so we spent a lot of time figuring out like what's the most ideal, and thankfully I'm like playing a lot, so you know I can tell, you know, like what would I want, how would I want this to be set up and stuff. So yeah, that was a big focus.
That's awesome. All right, couple more questions. A Mask wants to know if there are any plans to add a changeable fallen count for Supreme Overlord. I assume he's talking about for like game states where he might have to sack Pokemon he wants to see, like if he's still able to live certain things from like Gambit like ahead of time, rather than having to wait till like the Pokemon are dead.
That's hilarious, actually. So that's the funniest thing. So we've like really streamlined it, right? Because like we try to address like small screen sizes, like if you're on your laptop. So we're kind of limited in how much we can put on the screen at one time. So we've had to get creative with where we put stuff. So that's the unfortunate part. So actually, we have that in there. So if you go into settings, we have a lot of settings, and you scroll all the way down to, let's see, OM and Little Cup support. There's a setting called Edit Moves, and you change that to always, because we have that set up that it's like, if you're in an OM, they've got like weird moves stuff, and that you can edit them, but normally you shouldn't have to edit them. But anyway, so if you go into Edit Moves, turn that to always, and then when you're like looking at the King Gambit calcs, there's an edit button there next to the Terra button. You press that, and there's a fallen counter, and you can change it, and that'll change the damage.
Well, there you go. It's been there the whole time.
It's been there, yeah. So
Just an easy 500-step process.
Exactly. Super easy.
I don't. Does the edit button show up always, even if you have that setting?
No, it's OM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. We try to like not put too many things on the screen so it fits and it's not like overflowing. So
Yeah, that makes sense 100%. Like there's already so much that you have to fit on there.
yeah, exactly. That's why we like kept certain stuff off, like gravity, which you don't really like. How often do you ever use that? So
100%. All right, last question. JC wants to know what you think about the negative opinions people have saying Calcdex is a crutch and that it reduces the impact of head calcs.
all right, I'll take that. Yeah. So funny enough, yeah. So there was actually a French video that came out a long time ago. This is like, I think it was a couple months after we released Showdex.
Yeah.
And he actually talked about that and like brought it up of like how some people see it as cheating potentially and stuff. And so, yeah. So I honestly think that okay, so first of all, I don't think it's cheating, just because we only automate the parts that are like obvious that any person would do. We just streamline the process for you, so it's the same process if you went on calc.pokemon showdown and went on there and inputted yourself. Like, we're only automating that part. So at that point, then it would be cheating to use the damage calc, right, at all, right? Like if you had a second monitor and you were inputting it on there, that would be the same. So is that cheating then, right? Which I feel like it's not, right? Most people don't think that. And we actually purposely a lot of people have actually requested over time that we we detect if something's like choice spec or choice banned based on the damage, because we could definitely do that, right? And automatically set it for you. And we purposely decided not to do that because we feel like that's where you start crossing the line into where this is it could be seen as like cheating or a crutch, or like playing for you, because you can't really like run those numbers. Like that would take you a lot of time to do in the normal damage calc, and so we feel like that would give you like an unfair advantage. But I think if you're not doing that, then I think it's fine. Like I don't think it's a crutch. And I think that actually like one of the issues sometimes is that we streamline the process so much for you that you can kind of like go on autopilot and not really like be checking the sets, be checking like what's applied, just taking whatever the default is. And that's the issue, right? Is that you got to still be checking the set, because we don't like have some like machine learning algorithm in there like detecting stuff for you, right? It's just like the damage calc, right? Like on the damage calc you have to like enter stuff in, but since you have to do all of it manually, I think you're more aware of it. Whereas since we streamline it, I think it's easy to like just stop doing that part where you like check stuff. And I know that can be frustrating. And I think in terms of the crutch part, I think it's a great way to learn, right? Like if you don't already know those calcs, then how are you gonna like learn them anyway, right? So I think like it's good to learn with it, and then I mean if you want to take the training wheels off, you can, but I don't really see any reason why not to just have it there to check, right? But we also added in like an overlay feature so that you can just toggle it on and off, so you don't have to always be looking at it. Yeah, so I thought that would be another option for people if you don't want to have to like, if it distracts you or like derails you. I wonder, what do you think about that actually?
My whole thing about that argument is it literally is just a more convenient calc. Like you said, it's essentially just a calc ported over to the same screen. Yeah. So I've always like if you're gonna make the argument of like, oh, like head calcs are like so important or whatever, I still think they're important. It helps you identify stuff faster. Yeah. I don't think that Calcdex gets rid of the need for head. I don't think they're like. I think that both are like useful tools.
Yeah.
And I don't like the argument of Calcdex being a crutch, because I think it's just an excuse that people make 100%.
Yeah, and I think too, right? It's like it kind of levels the playing field a bit, because it's like I think it's kind of I think the really important part is the strategy aspect, right? Like I don't think it's crazy. It's like, oh wow, I beat him because he didn't memorize that like Draco Meteor like is a 2-hit KO on the Toxapex, right? Like I don't think that's really the skill part. That's just kind of like memorization over time, right? It's like, so I feel like the more important part is the strategy aspect. So if anything, I kind of like, I wish everybody had it, because sometimes it's hard to predict, like, if the person knows, like, does he know this is gonna KO him, or
Right.
like,
You have Showdex.
Does he
is he
respect
just
it
like
or not?
staying? Yeah, right. Like sometimes they might make the right play, quote unquote, just because they didn't even know that, what the calc was. So makes it a little easier to predict.
Yeah, I think people take it way too seriously, and it's like if you like it, use it. If you don't, you don't have to. It's really not that deep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
All right, and how can people support what you do?
Yeah, I mean, we have a Patreon, we have like a PayPal they could donate to, but it's not necessary, honestly. We just have it there because it just, like, obviously it takes a lot of time and work to keep supporting it over time, but we're always gonna keep supporting it. But yeah, and then if you do that, then you get a special badge in there. Depending on your Patreon tier, you can even get like a custom badge in Showdex, and like a title and everything. So yeah, it's like right underneath it's right on the hello deck. So yeah, if anyone wants to.
All right, and thank you both for joining. This was really cool. I'm really happy that you guys agreed to this, and it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to ask you guys these questions, and I think I got a lot of really cool insight that I just had no idea about before.
Yeah, likewise. No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was surprised, honestly. You wanted to talk to the damage calc guys, so.
I mean, hell yeah,
Yeah.
you guys do a lot for the community, and I mean, like, so many people like use your extension and are like their lives are just made easier. Like, I guess maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but like their experience on Showdown is probably a better way of phrasing it. Like, it just makes the experience more convenient and just like easier.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really cool. We're happy that we could give back. I'm sure the win-loss thing too is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Except when there's a lot of losses and it's a little tilting.
0-7 or something like
Refresh.
that. Yeah, gotta refresh before recording.
I know, right?
Actually, little known feature, you could actually right click that area and hit reset.
Oh, really? Okay.
Little secret, yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Actually, that's pretty funny.
Just remember that right now. I forgot to put that in too.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, you've been using Showdex for a while, right?
Oh yeah, like over a year probably.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we love seeing people use it. So that's actually how I found your channel. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys again, and I'm gonna go ahead and outro here. Thank you everybody for watching. Comment who you want me to interview next, and yeah, subscribe. Check these guys out. I'll drop their links down in the description below as well, and yeah, see ya. All right, what is up, everybody? Bub back with something a little bit different. Today I'm starting a new series. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Sorry.
You're good.
You're good.
You made a video before? Holy shit, we had to do like 300 takes. Like,
Dude, I don't know.
I get it, bro.
I get nervous around new people. My bad. All right, let's try that again.